The year 2001 felt like the end of the world in Silicon Valley. The dot-com bubble hadn't just burst, it had shattered, leaving a landscape of broken dreams and empty desks. My office phone rang incessantly, a shrill reminder of the desperation outside. My inbox overflowed with resumes from people who, just months ago, were millionaires on paper. Now, they were just scared. The hardest part wasn't the workload. It was the voices of old friends on the other end of the line. They called me, their voices thick with desperation, accusing me of betrayal because I couldn't find them work, or even find the time to return their calls. I was drowning in a sea of human misery, feeling the weight of an entire industry's collapse on my shoulders. Every ring of the phone felt like a physical blow, and every unread email felt like a broken promise. One morning, I looked at my team and saw the same exhaustion in their eyes. I told them to drop everything. Our mission changed in an instant. We weren't just recruiters anymore. We were a support system. For 12 hours a day, we sat with the fallen. We polished their resumes, gave honest advice, and even handed out lists of our own competitors. We became shoulders to cry on for people who had lost everything. I went home that night, physically spent. But for the first time in months, I felt useful. However, the next morning brought the same cold reality. The machine was full of messages. "I thought you were my friend," they echoed. I realized then that individual calls weren't enough to heal this wound. We needed a community. We needed a way to bring people together so they didn't have to face the darkness alone. I booked a room at the City Club in San Francisco and launched a free networking breakfast. It wasn't just about jobs, it was about survival. It evolved into a sanctuary where job seekers traded leads and shared strategies. Standing in that room, I realized that a job search is a lonely road, but we don't have to walk it alone. We are like the redwood trees in Muir Woods. We find our strength by interlocking our roots beneath the surface. To bring some light to the group, I invited my father to speak. He had just retired after 38 years of service to the city. He stood before that room of anxious professionals and told a story about a tense interview from his youth. When the panel asked him, "You're 26 now, where do you see yourself in a year?" he simply replied,
"I sure hope I am 27. The room erupted in laughter, the first real joy many had felt in weeks.
My father was a man who lived to make people smile. I remembered being 8 years old.
Sitting beside him at my first Warriors game, feeling his pure, infectious joy.
That memory still gives me goosebumps. But life has a way of turning. A few months after his talk, we traveled to Texas for a wedding. Something was wrong. Dad struggled to keep food down, his strength fading. Back home, the diagnosis was a hammer blow, esophageal cancer. He fought with everything he had, enduring the poison of chemotherapy and the trauma of surgery. By February 2003, we thought we had won. He was back on stage,
his voice harmonizing with his barbershop quartet, a miracle in a tuxedo. But the victory was short-lived.
The cancer returned, silent and aggressive, claiming his liver. Time was no longer on our side. The days became precious, measured in whispers and held hands. One night, my wife sat by his side, weeping for the man who had become her own father. Dad, even in his weakness, reached out to comfort her. A single tear traced a path down his cheek as he whispered, "At least we will be together as a family for a while." In his final hours, my father was calm. He looked at my sister, my brother, and me with a clarity that defied his condition. He said clearly, "It is time." We gathered around his bed, a circle of love that he had built over decades. Minutes later, he was gone. I stepped outside into a world that felt suddenly empty, greeted by a cold, pouring rain. But then, the clouds broke with a suddenness that felt divine. A massive, brilliant rainbow arched across the San Francisco sky, vibrant and impossible. I called my family out into the wet air to witness it. It was his final goodbye, a colorful bridge between this world and the next. My father had spent his life walking with God, and that day, he simply went home. I realized then that while markets crash and careers fade, your number one network is, and always will be, your family. They are the roots that hold you when the storm hits. Thanks for everything, Dad. I will carry your joy with me forever.